Hey guys, this is a very short video on tympanic membrane, also known as your eardrum or myringa. And so any incision in your tympanic membrane is known as myringotomy. Here I have drawn tympanic membrane on the left side. Here's a man facing towards the left side. So this is a tympanic membrane of the left ear. And here we can see this whole circle is representing a tympanic membrane, this as a whole. But tympanic membrane itself is divided into two parts. One is this flaccid part and one is this tensa part. So this part is known as pars flaccida, and this one over here below, this the major two-third part, is known as pars tensa. So pars tensa is much more complicated, so we'll discuss this one much more in detail. So the pars tensa part of the tympanic membrane, it starts from here where I'm pointing right now, from here till this point. Yeah, so this whole area is your pars tensa. Now pars tensa itself is divided into four quadrants via two imaginary lines. Yeah, one is here and one is here. Yeah, imaginary lines are perpendicular to each other at this point. This point is umbo of your malleus bone. Yeah, of malleus bone of your ear. Yeah, inner ear. So here, if you can see, I have drawn, suppose here is your ear. Yeah, so you can remember it by the mnemonic miss. Yeah, miss, MIS. So here is your this bone, small ossicle, not bone, basically ossicle. Yeah, this one is your malleus. This one over here is your incus, and this one is your stapes. Yeah, so mnemonic is miss. So what happens is this malleus is the one where the tympanic membrane is almost attached. Yeah, it's kind of cup shaped. Yeah, it's kind of a cup shaped, and umbo is this part is umbo, which I was talking about here. So this is your umbo, which is a part of your malleus. Yeah, another diagram, if this will make it much more easier for you guys. So this is your malleus. Yeah, this is a view of the otoscope. Yeah, while you are looking through the instrument otoscope. Yeah, otoscope. So by looking at through that, you can see this is the malleus, and this part over here is the umbo of the malleus. Yeah, so let's start with again. So the four quadrants were divided. The past tense was divided into four quadrants. This one over here is anterior superior, anterior inferior. This whole area is anterior inferior. It includes something known as cone of light. Yeah, so I'll tell you about this later. And then we have this posterior inferior and posterior superior. So of course these are posterior superior and posterior, these are posterior because this man is facing towards the left side. Yeah, so here it is, anterior superior is from here till here, anterior inferior, whole of this area, anterior posterior inferior and posterior superior. Now what is this cone of light? Yeah, this is while you look at the tympanic membrane through the otoscope, you can see a brightened area. This is known as cone of light. Yeah, which is presented in anterior inferior compartment of the pars tensa itself. Yeah, so it's not nothing, it is in anterior inferior compartment. So this is the so the main important point to remember here is we have two major parts of tympanic membrane. One is flaccida, pars flaccida, and pars tensa. Pars tensa is of the two-third part. It is the major part, and divided by pars tensa is divided by two imaginary lines into four compartments, two anterior and two posterior, anterior superior, anterior inferior, and posterior superior and posterior inferior. Yeah, and cone of light is present in the anterior inferior compartment. All right, so what happens is, suppose there's a fluid accumulation, or there's any kind of infection in the ear. Yeah, otitis media, and acute one, or yeah, a secretory one. So in those cases, what you need to do is you need to make incisions. Yeah, so into the tympanic membrane, so the pressure doesn't build up, and the airflow and the eustachian tube and everything are much more free. So in that cases, for that fluid drainage and whatever, what we need to do is we need to make some incisions into the tympanic membrane. So of course, tympanic membrane incision would be made in pars tensa area, basically where one will be in major one would be in posterior inferior compartment, or in this one anterior inferior compartment. Here it was anterior inferior, here it is anterior inferior. So two type of incisions can be made, like basically there are three, but the main two one would be like, one is curvilinear you can say, or the J shaped or the hockey shaped. Yeah, this one is made in the posterior inferior. It is mainly it is mainly because of suppose there's a fluid accumulation, yeah, some pus and everything. So in that cases you make the incision, you go from down to below, from below to up. Yeah, so this one is J-shaped, curvilinear or hockey shaped incision. Basically this one you do in posterior inferior compartment of the tympanic membrane. Then there is a linear incision you can make along with the grommet incision. This is a grommet. The grommet is a kind of a tube which is inserted in air, and the straight incision. This is suppose there is acute acute otitis media in that case too. Yeah, so these are two basic kind of incisions which are made in the tympanic membrane. So this would be called myringotomy. All right, now about the tympanic membrane, if we talk about the innervation of the tympanic membrane, the main important one are what you must remember are the auricular temporal nerve, or yeah, of the which is a branch of the mandibular nerve. Yeah, fifth cranial nerve. And then again, then you have the vagus nerve. Yeah, so vagus nerve usually is in the on the posterior side, and cranial nerve fifth. Auricular ATN you can say, instead of ATM you can say ATN. It would be on the anterior side. So these two must be remembered. Cranial nerve 5, yeah, branch. Cranial nerve fifth branch of the mandibular one would be auriculotemporal nerve, yeah, and cranial nerve 10. And which one exactly? It would be your Arnold's nerve, yeah, which is the auricular branch of cranial nerve 10, yeah. Then there innervation from the cranial nerve 7 also, and from your glossopharyngeal nerve also, which is your cranial nerve 9, yeah. So they also innervate to an extent, which is also known as Jacobson nerve, yeah. So that also innervates your this thing, tympanic membrane. But an important point is cranial nerve 9, your glossopharyngeal nerve or Jacobson nerve. It usually innervates the medial part, inner ear, inner surface of the your tympanic membrane. Yeah, then you have cranial 7 again, cauda tympani area, which is found here in the tympanic membrane. It innervates. Cranial nerve 7 also innervates that also too. So that's all. This is what you another view. This what you can see. This is a tympanic membrane. This is your malleus, and this part was umbo. Yeah, this is what you see, and this is a cone of light what you see in the tympanic membrane. So that's all. Thank you.